Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Author by Heavenly Overlord. Translator by NYOIBO Studio. Audio novels by Novelist. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 141, Urgent Mission. Even if Su Yu knew that he could not win, he had to try everything he could to kill Li Hao. Clang. The sudden ring of a gong reverberated around the faction. Whoosh. In the External Affairs Division, Xuanhuan flew toward the sound of the gong with a serious expression. Li Hao's cold smile vanished, replaced by a slight surprise. His grave expression showed signs of frustration, glaring at Su Yu. Count yourself lucky. After saying this, he left hurriedly, not bothering with Su Yu. Su Yu's expression changed. To be able to fluster Xuanhuan and Li Hao, this must not be an ordinary incident. Clang. The second gong sounded, more hurried than the first. Using his long-range vision, Su Yu could see multiple terrifying auras gathering in the inner sanctum like bamboo sprouting after a heavy rain, congregating where the sound of the gong came from. Even though he did not know what had happened, Su Yu did not dare dawdle. He flew toward the location. The gong came from a wide palace. Within the palace was a great golden gong, still trembling as its sound trailed off. Those that were gathered by the sound were all inner sanctum disciples. There was about 100 of them. Their cultivation levels were all 4th level Holy King or higher. In front of the great golden gong was an elder, his cultivation level so powerful that no one could discern it. The elder stood with his eyes shut, but he still managed to cause the skin of everyone to crawl. The crowd was completely silent. Even those who were in a conversation as they entered stopped talking when they noticed his presence. Xuanhuan had a respectful expression, standing before the gong and not daring to do anything inappropriate. The elder was the third elder, in charge of dispatching the missions of the faction. After a while, there were no more people entering the palace. The third elder opened his eyes. Even though those eyes were ancient, they still captivated the attention of everyone present. The ringing of the Lixian gong is due to an emergency situation. There is an urgent mission, the third elder said calmly. The crowd present did not understand the situation. The last urgent mission was last year, wasn't it? There were invaders that alarmed the master. Those who returned from the mission were all rewarded by the master. I also heard about that. There were 2 newcomers who displayed their strength, gaining the attention of the faction. Now they are all core disciples of the faction with limitless resources, much to the envy of others. What's there to envy? In that battle, the 2 newcomers killed the leader of the enemy. Their glory and contribution fully displayed their loyalty to the faction. Su Yu was excited. He faced 2 difficulties if he wanted to enter the ancient Xianyan temple. The first was to enter the top 100 of the faction. The second was to get the faction to acknowledge his loyalty. This urgent mission would be the shortcut to obtaining the faction's acknowledgement. An opportunity like this was once in a lifetime. Xiana's phoenix of death curse was gradually descending, her life was hanging by the thread. Su Yu had to find the phoenix blood elixir, or he had to helplessly see her die, or send her to be violated by Xuanhuan. He would never give this chance up. But others who saw opportunity were everywhere. Urgent missions like these were extremely rare. The third elder clapped his hands lightly. A person covered in blood and wounds, as if a 30-year-old youth coming back from a death match walked out from behind the palace. His chest had a huge claw mark covering half of his chest, much to the shock of everyone. He shall explain the situation, the third elder unfeelingly said. The 30-year-old youth's expression was harsh. Even though his injuries hurt, his expression did not change and his voice was still full of power. I'm Wu Qingzhu, a disciple dispatched to the abyss of Wutong. My responsibility was to search for treasures in the abyss of Wutong and escort them back to the faction. But I got ambushed halfway during my journey back. 5 other members, excluding me, managed to make it back. The rest of us were all killed. Wu Qingzhu's harsh face showed signs of grief. My brother was also killed. The crowd gasped. Wu Qingzhu was a 4th level peak holy king, yet even he had difficulty escaping back to the faction. Just how powerful were the enemies he had encountered? The 3rd elder slowly sighed. Out of the 4 sacrificed, 3 were 4th level peak holy kings. The other was a senior who was a 5th level holy king. This is an unprecedented loss within the Liuxian faction, and also the shame of the Liuxian faction. Thus, the urgent mission is to capture their killer. Killing intent appeared in the eyes of the 3rd elder. We, the Liuxian faction, have stayed silent for too long. It is time to teach a lesson to these vermin using blood. The beard of the 3rd elder flared, his expression furious. Now, I shall announce the mission. We need 6 people to kill all of the perpetrators. Killing the murderer of 4th level lower tier holy king will net you 5 glory points. Killing the murderer of 4th level upper tier holy king will net you 10 glory points. Killing the murderer of 4th level peak holy king will net you 20 glory points. And killing the murderer of 5th level holy king would net you 100 glory points. Your glory points will be doubled if you could capture him alive. The crowd exploded in commotion. What terrifying rewards! A glory point can be exchanged for a medium-grade marrow cleansing pill. Killing a 4th level lower tier holy king would mean that you would obtain 5 medium-grade marrow cleansing pill. My god, I have labored over the past year going on normal missions to obtain a meager 10 glory points. Who would have thought that the urgent mission today would give such terrifying rewards? If we managed to get 100 glory points, would we get the legendary advanced grade marrow cleansing pill? The extraordinary rewards caused 100 disciples to explode in commotion. While they were all excited, no one dared to register for the mission. For everyone noticed that the elder never once said how many enemies there were. For even he did not know how many murderers there were. In fact, they did not even know whether there was a 5th level holy king murderer. Wu Qingzhu had escaped in a panic. It was hard for him to clearly say how many powerful enemies had attacked them. The true aim of gathering a group of 6 this time was not to kill the enemies, but to test the overall number and strength of the enemies. The 6-man team might not even return alive. The condition for accepting the mission is that your cultivation level cannot be higher than 5th level lower tier holy king. The registration begins now, the 3rd elder coldly said. The crowd had expected this. Why did they not allow more powerful disciples to enter? Because should the abilities of the disciples sent be too high, the culprits might not show themselves. The plan to kill them would be foiled. Only by forming a team with members below 5th level holy king could they draw out the culprits. Undoubtedly, this 6-man team was for scouting purposes. There should be a more powerful group assisting them in the shadows. Once the 6-man team gained an understanding of the overall number and strength of the enemies, the other group would strike like thunder, decimating all of the enemies. Those tempting rewards did not belong to the 6-man group. They were only sent as cannon fodder, and would not receive any rewards. Thus, when the 3rd elder announced the registration, the venue turned silent, nobody stepping forward to register. Those with little brains and experience could see the true motive behind this urgent mission. Those with abilities higher than 5th level holy king were full of mockery. This time, the stage was theirs. The 6-man team were all but paving the way for them. The eyelids of the 3rd elder twitched. He had clearly underestimated the wits of the disciples. I'll enter. A figure stepped forward from the silence. Purple-robed with silver hair, his expression was calm. The 3rd elder relaxed, but he froze a little when he saw who had stepped forward. Su Yu. The 3rd elder was present that day during the wedding. He could remember Su Yu from his silver hair and his purple robe. But Su Yu was only a 3rd level holy king, his abilities were too weak. Even though he had established an upper limit of 5th level lower tier holy king and had not set up a lower limit, everyone had figured that only 4th level holy kings should participate. Sending a 3rd level holy king would not even accomplish the motive of paving the way. Even though he was unwilling, he had no other way to salvage his reputation. Now that there was someone stepping out to relieve the awkward atmosphere, how could he decline? You. All right, I'll count you in. The third elder sighed unwillingly. He muttered in his heart, did no one tell this lad that the emergency gathering of the faction should only be attended by 4th level holy kings and that those below 4th level holy king were not allowed to attend? Su Yu stepping out brought attention to his unusual presence. That's weird. Why would a 3rd level holy king be present at a gathering for 4th level holy kings? Why? Does no one recognize him? Su Yu, the one who defeated Xuanhuan, do you know? It's him. His abilities are not bad, but he is still a youth. His experience and intellect are still lacking. He does not understand the risks of the 6-man group. He does not live up to his reputation. When he gets older, he will just be a simple-minded brute, easily tempted by rewards. The chances of him staying alive to develop his abilities in the future are slim. Hearing the discussion around him, Su Yu was shocked. He truly did not know that this was a gathering for people above 4th level Holy King, for no one had told him. But how would Su Yu not realize the risks behind this urgent mission? Put nicely, they were the vanguard. But in reality, they were the team rushing in to die. But Su Yu had no choice. The stronger team that was going to be formed later would definitely only be open to people above 5th level Holy King. Su Yu definitely did not qualify. In fact, him being a part of the 6-man team was purely accidental. He was lucky to barely make it into the team. His only chance was to kill as many enemies before the powerful backup squad rushed in, fighting for the glory points and gaining honor. Other than that, it would be difficult for him to obtain the faction's trust in such a short amount of time. Just as the second elder had said, even though it was an extremely dangerous situation, the faction might not believe him, for even life and death could be an act. Only killing enemies for the faction could prove his loyalty. I'll join in too. A sound came from the back. It was Li Hao. With a thoughtful smile, Li Hao stepped forward. He had come for Su Yu. Eliminating Su Yu during such a dangerous mission would definitely not invite any suspicion. The third elder's eyes sparkled, revealing a satisfied smile. All right, the second member, there are 4 more slots left. I would give the highest contributor a chance to enter the depository. Clenching his teeth, the third elder had thrown out another shocking reward. For a Holy King, entering the depository would mean the chance to come into contact with a legacy-level technique. In fact, with enough perseverance, entering the deepest parts of the depository might present a small chance of obtaining a complete legacy-level technique. I'll go. Me too. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 people had registered. Amongst them were people who had mocked Su Yu for being simple-minded and easily tempted by rewards. The third elder smiled as he picked 4 people. The 6-man team had been finalized. A 5th-level Holy King, 4 4th-level Peak Holy Kings, and finally, a slightly out-of-place 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. All right, set out for the crime scene. Search out and kill the culprits. Su Yu clenched his fists. Obtaining the recognition of the faction and glory points for exchanging for pills and elixir. This battle to him, if he managed to do well, would be a moment of rebirth. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 142, Treasures of the Abyss of Wutong. The leader of the 6-man team was naturally the 5th-level lower-tier Holy King Inner Sanctum disciple, Song Qingshan. He was muscular, draped in a leopard print coat. He gave people the impression that he was a barbarian. Many of the Inner Sanctum disciples secretly creased their brows. Song Qingshan's abilities were too strong. Should there be any survivors of the 6, it would be Song Qingshan. If by any chance he managed to kill the leader of the enemies first, then the rewards would be considerably lower for everyone else. Song Qingshan, I shall entrust this team with you. You must capture or kill the culprits. The third elder ordered sternly. Song Qingshan cupped his fists, accepting the order respectfully. His voice was like a gong. Yes, but I have a request. Speak. The third elder nodded. Song Qingshan shot a cold look to Su Yu, pointing toward him. I wish to change him for someone else. This mission is dangerous. I cannot carry a burden with me. The crowd agreed silently. Su Yu was only a 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. The rest of the people were 4th-level peak holy kings. Changing him away would naturally increase the overall strength of the team. Many wanted to enter the team, but there were no more slots. The eyes of those disciples who wanted to enter sparkled. The third elder had the same sentiments. Changing Su Yu out would be the smart choice. But he had personally promised Su Yu a spot. How could he go back on his word in front of everybody? Su Yu is a newcomer in the inner sanctum. You senior disciples are to guide him along. This time, we shall treat it as practice for him. Hearing this, Song Qingshan was reluctant to agree, angrily glaring at Su Yu. Every member of the team besides the 6 in the team other than Li Hao creased their brows. Su Yu's gaze was calm, silently bearing the weird looks. Since the preparations are complete, set off. The third elder announced. The team left the faction, heading toward the site of the ambush. 3 days later, they arrived at the Wolong snowfield. The Wolong snowfield was a snowfield spanning 100,000 miles. It had been there 10,000 years ago. Snow fell consistently. Suppressed by the ages, the snow had turned into crystal-like ice like an expansive mirror, reflecting the sunlight. 6 people appeared in the silent world of ice, Mirror Canyon. Their expressions were grave as they stood there. Broken limbs and decapitated corpses shocked them. The bright red blood was splattered all over the valley. The chill of the Wolong snowfield preserved the gruesome scene of that day. None of the corpses are intact. Just what did they go through? Song Qingshan crouched to examine a corpse. All that remained was the lower body, the rest had been chewed up. Thinking back to the chest of Wu Qingzhu, they pictured the large claw mark on his chest. They all shuddered. Their enemy could be human or demon. Su Yu, scout out the area within a 50-mile radius immediately. Song Qingshan did not raise his head, coldly issuing an order. Su Yu creased his brows but still flew to the skies, looking down from his high vantage point. After the cleansing of the red dragon, Su Yu's vision had once again improved. In the past, he could only observe everything within 20 miles, but now he could do it up to 50 miles. Surveying the surroundings, it was dead silent everywhere within a 50-mile radius. Other than the majestic snow, there were only a few wild snow rabbits, wolves and dead bodies. There were no signs of any enemies. Descending, he reported, there are no traces of the enemies within a 50-mile radius. Are you trying to tell me that you can see what's happening 50 miles away just by taking a look in the air? Song Qingshan's large eyes showed fury, glaring at Su Yu. Su Yu calmly nodded. Yes. The rest of the team looked at each other, involuntarily creasing their brows. Su Yu, know your place. Since you insisted on coming, you should be ready to accept your orders. HMPH. If you feel indignant, you are free to go back. Team leader, for our own safety, we should kick Su Yu from this team. I would not dare entrust my life in his hands. Obviously, everyone thought that Su Yu's actions were too much. Song Qingshan's had a serious expression. Su Yu, you had better. There's a snow wolf munching on the remains of a person 30 miles northeast, probably one of our disciples. There are 2 snow rabbits falling into an ice ditch 15 miles to the south, 9 miles to the west. There's a discovery. There are multiple fresh footprints. Su Yu was standing in the air, surveying the surroundings as he calmly spoke. But when he scanned past the west, his expression suddenly changed. It was only after close observation that he had noticed something strange. Whoosh! Without waiting for Song Qingshan and the rest to react, Su Yu flew toward the west himself, leaving behind a bunch of dumbfounded people. He could really see that far. A disciple could not believe it. Looking at Su Yu's back, another laughed. I think he's finding an excuse to leave. He knew that he was not liked by the team and found an excuse to leave the team early. Song Qingshan did not believe that Su Yu could see that far, but as the leader, he could not let his emotions impede with his decisions. It is better to believe that there's really a clue. We would know the truth if we follow him. Whoosh! Whoosh! 5 air crackling sounds reverberated around the canyon. A few moments later, 9 miles away, Su Yu was standing in the air and thinking with his hands crossed. The expressions of the disciples who followed changed when they saw the scene. There was a row of footprints in the snow. A pair of human footprints, and a pair of footprints from a giant demonic beast. The footprint was about as big as a small house, a thick demonic aura still emanating from it. They're really footprints. He can really see up to 50 miles. A deep shock spread through the disciples. Their impressions of Su Yu were gradually changing. In the vast snowfield, if he could see up to a 50-mile radius, it was hard to even fathom how useful that was in tracking or defending against the unknown enemy. In terms of importance, he was even more useful than the 4th-level peak Holy Kings. Looking back at the rest, Su Yu cupped his fists. My abilities are weak, I shall not be a burden to you seniors. I shall act on my own, goodbye. After saying this, Su Yu followed the footprints as he flew away. The rest of the team was anxious. Such monstrous vision was irreplaceable in helping them stay safe and capture the enemy. How could he leave just like that? But no one had the spirit to stop him. Along the way, they had looked at him with disgust. They had even ordered Su Yu to leave the team just now. Now that Su Yu had really left the team, who had the cheek to keep him? The color on Song Qingshan's face changed. He wanted to ask Su Yu to stay, but could not put down his position, only grunting. Completely without team spirit. Since he wants to act alone, we shall let him. He best not come back and beg us to let him back. The faces of the rest felt hot. Was it him who had forced Su Yu to leave? The one who had no team spirit was them, not Su Yu. Let's go. Press on along the direction of the footprints. Song Qingshan suppressed his frustration, leading the team forward. Half a day later, crazy winds howled in front of a canyon. The snow covered the entirety of the footprints. In half a day, they had lost Su Yu and they had lost the tracks of the human and demonic beast. Unlucky. Song Qingshan was extremely frustrated about Su Yu leaving the team. Leader. Look, there's a weak flame within the canyon. A member of the team was sharp, reminding him quietly. It was close to evening, the light of the setting sun reflected onto the snow, scattering weakly. It could be Su Yu, but it could also be the enemies. One person would stand guard here. If there are any emergency situations, immediately awaken. The rest follow me in. Song Qingshan instructed. The 4 of them carefully walked toward the deep end of the canyon, coming to where the weak flame was. It was a natural stone cave. The winds howled outside the cave. The cold went straight to the bones. Inside of the cave was warm, the flame gentle. But there was no one there. Could it be left behind by Su Yu? The flames are still here, he must still be in the vicinity. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they discovered nobody in the cave. Song Qingshan cautiously surveyed the surroundings, confirming that this wasn't a trap. He coldly grunted. Why care about him? It's turning dark. We have spent a full day tracking, we should rest here for the night. Everyone else nodded. The sky was turning dark and it would be harder to track the enemies. They could only wait for tomorrow. They entered the stone cave. Before entering, Song Qingshan looked at the entrance of the canyon. He could faintly see a figure. He grunted, Zhao Dan, come in. But the figure did not move. His sound seemed to have been drowned out by the howling winds. Song Qingshan was frustrated. If Su Yu was still around to help out, would the situation be this complicated? Opening his mouth to shout once again, a shrill voice laughed beside his ear. He might not be able to hear you anymore. Pitter, patter. A bloody ball of meat fell from Song Qingshan's head toward his foot. It was a lightly beating heart, still emanating a bit of warmth. At the entrance of the canyon, the still figure fell down. Zhao Dan had been silently killed. He could not even shout before he died. His heart had been dug out. How could anyone be so terrifying? Looking up, it was a lady in a snow robe, floating in the air. Her appearance was petite and beautiful, her physique slender. The large snow robe could not disguise her curvaceous body. She was supposed to be a beautiful lady in the snowy night, but the blood on her hands added a sinister layer to her beauty. But what shocked Song Qingshan was not the lady, but the large object under her feet. It was a great snow lion, its abilities rivaling that of a 5th-level lower-tier holy king. The metallic smell of blood came from the mouth of the snow lion. It was ferocious, its eyes still bearing a murderous intent. Interesting. I had only left for a short while and there's now a group of people in my cave. You should be the disciples sent by the Lixian faction to investigate. The slender lady harbored a cold gaze as she laughed meaningfully. Not good. Leave the cave quickly. Song Qingshan knew that the situation was bad when he saw the terrifying snow lion, howling loudly. It would be hard for them to do battle while they were trapped in a cave. They could very well be killed. Song Qingshan turned into a sharp sword, flying out of the cave. Of the 4 of them, Li Hao was the most cautious and thus was the last to enter the cave. He did not hesitate and followed Song Qingshan out of the cave. It's too late to escape now. The expression of the slender lady turned merciless. Roar. With a loud howl, the snow lion opened its mouth and shot out a blue aura. It looked like a flame, but it was actually a ball of blue ice flame. Creak. The fire in the cave was immediately extinguished. At the same time, a thick layer of blue ice covered the entrance of the cave, gradually spreading inside and attempting to freeze Song Qingshan and the rest to death in the cave. Not good. Quick, circulate your spirit energy to destroy the blue ice flame. Song Qingshan could not escape successfully, letting out a furious howl. He used all of his spirit energy to dispel the ice. With a grave expression, he struck with Li Hao, attempting to crush the ice. But the ice was terrifying. At that moment, even with the 5 of them striking together, they could only lower the speed of the ice spreading. Song Qingshan was regretful. If Su Yu were still on the team, would they have been spotted by this lady and her horrifying pet? Would they die trapped in this place? The rest of the disciples were all screaming in grief, their hearts full of despair. Seeing them struggle stubbornly, the slender lady's eyes turned cold. HMPH. Pointless struggle. Then her lips formed a cold smile. All right, I have never had the chance to try this ever since I got it. I guess I shall try it on you guys. Whoosh. The lady took out an ancient jade box from her sleeves. The box was scarred and marked with age. Within the jade box was a drop of liquid with an immensely chilly energy. It was like a crystal, but also looked like liquid. The cold energy it emanated caused the temperature to drop in the cave. This is one of the treasures the Lixian faction dug out from the abyss of Wutong, the ice crystal marrow. It gathers an extreme chilly energy. The slender lady had a mocking tone. I can't help but say that the Lixian faction discovered an incredible relic. To think that there remained so many complete ancient treasures. The mocking tone of the slender lady grew heavier. It's a pity that it would all be used for the bridal gown of the Empire of Darkness. This lady was from the Empire of Darkness. Creak. The slender lady flicked with her bare fingers. The ice crystal marrow flew toward the entrance of the cave. Crack. The horrifying chilly energy caused a large portion of the entrance to freeze. The progress they had made with the entrance was instantly nullified. Ah! A pathetic cry sounded as a 4th-level peak holy king turned into an ice sculpture. Song Qingshan gasped. What in the world was the ice crystal marrow? Just being close to it gave off such power. If it were to crack. A skin-crawling feeling welled up within him. Whoosh. Whoosh. Multiple crystal-like, transparent threads descended from the sky. Without giving any time to react, the threads surrounded the flying ice crystal marrow, suspending it in the air. At the same moment, a collected laugh filled everyone's ears. What a waste to throw such a treasure away. I shall keep this. Looking up under the moonlight was a silver-haired, purple-robed figure, standing elegantly. On his palm was the ice crystal marrow. The horrifying chilly energy had no effect on him but was instead absorbed into his body. It was Su Yu. With Su Yu's vision, he had long since discovered the existence of the lady in the snow lion. He had been hiding 50 miles away, cautiously observing the situation. When an opportunity appeared, he had shown himself. There's another fish that escaped my net. The slender lady was genuinely surprised. Why would the disciple of the Lixian faction be acting independently? Song Qingshan was like a dying man clutching at straw, visibly elated. Junior Su, please save us. HMPH. A mere third-level Holy King wishes to foil my plans. The slender lady asked mockingly, flying into the air. His expression calm as Su Yu muttered silently. Fourth level lower tier Holy King, killing you would get me 5 glory points, capturing her would double that to 10. What a pity. Looking at the terrifying snow lion, Su Yu abandoned all thoughts of capturing her. The slender lady had struck with a legacy level technique, and it was a stage 1 upper tier technique. Her hands were like a white jade dragon, piercing through the air, grabbing towards Su Yu's chest at lightning speeds. She wanted to grab Su Yu's heart with one stroke. Zhao Dan, who was at the entrance of the canyon, had been frozen by the snow lion before getting his heart pulled out by this vicious woman. Su Yu's expression was cold, gathering a long spear made of purple lightning flares and azure ice flames in his palm. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Su Yu grunted. The long spear of ice and thunder flames harbored a devastating energy, turning into a row of light, piercing through the air. What? A half-divine great holy decree. That's the same kind of holy decree as that demonic woman. The slender lady's cold laugh turned rigid, replaced by a mixture of fear, surprise, and retreat. But it was too late. The impact trembled the surroundings. With a pitiful howl, the chest of the lady from the Empire of Darkness had been pierced through, her heart decimated. Her life ended that instant. The 4th level lower tier Holy King had been killed with one technique. Whoosh! An icy divine thread flew over, encircling her body. Su Yu quickly searched around, finding 2 old jade boxes. Could they be the treasures of the abyss of Wutong that they had snatched? Glancing toward it, Su Yu squinted. A look of joyful surprise flashed through his eyes. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 143, Immortal Level Technique. Immortal Level Cultivation Technique. Su Yu was incredibly stunned. Spirit level cultivation techniques were split into legacy, immortal, and legendary levels. Su Yu had already known how rare legacy level techniques were. For a fraction of a manual of a legacy level technique, even the elegant Yunyan had to beg unwillingly, offering to marry Li Hao in humiliation in exchange for the manual. As for complete legacy level techniques, only people of the Dragon Realm, as well as the Elders, had the right to cultivate them. There was only one fraction of an immortal level technique in the entire Lixian faction. Yet, here there appeared an immortal legacy level technique. This would shake the entire faction. Su Yu's heart was thumping wildly, his blood boiling with excitement. But after opening the manual, his heart froze. There was only 1 page remaining. Of that, there were less than 100 words left. With a sigh, Su Yu opened the other jade box. His dull eyes regained their sparkle. Top-level legacy-level technique fragment, artifact control technique. This technique is a supporting technique. At the lower tier, you can begin to awaken the souls of divine artifacts. At the upper tier, you can release the souls of divine artifacts. At the top class, you can completely release the souls of divine artifacts. The condition for cultivation is that the person must own a divine artifact. Divine artifact. Su Yu's heart was thumping lightly. Wasn't the divine ice ring he owned a divine artifact from the divine ice ancient kingdom? But what was the meaning of the divine artifact's soul? Reading the book in detail, the artifact control technique had further introductions. Divine artifacts cannot display their true powers without the right master. It would be no different from ordinary weapons in the hands of an ordinary person, not achieving even 10% of what the divine artifact could achieve. Su Yu was excited. He recalled that, even though the divine ice ring was a divine artifact, no one could really tell. Not even the second elder noticed it. Could it be that he had never once used the true powers of his divine ice ring? Cultivators of the artifact control technique can forcefully use the divine artifacts of another person. With enough effort, they could force the artifact to view them as its master, taking the divine artifacts of others as their own. It is an arrogant technique that will incite hatred and jealousy, cultivate at your own risk. Su Yu's heart was thumping wildly. It could take the divine artifacts of others and make them his own. Unfortunately, the artifact control technique was but a remnant, with many of its pages missing. There was only the stage 1 lower tier portion left, with only a few thousand words. Junior Su, please pay some attention to this beast and help us escape. Seeing how Su Yu had executed the slender lady, Song Qingshan was elated. Su Yu creased his eyebrows. He did not have loyalty to them, especially Li Hao. He was a person Su Yu needed to kill. But losing its master, the Snow Lion's battle power was weakened. It was only a matter of time before Song Qingshan and the others would free themselves. If he left them be, he would face trouble should they complain about him back in the faction. Whoosh! Su Yu shot out a bolt of energy, then hurriedly retreated. Roar! Suffering an attack, the Snow Lion of 5th level Holy King roared in fury. Seizing the opportunity, Song Qingshan and the rest broke free from the blue ice. Leaving the small cave, they could finally use their techniques. They were no longer trapped within the confines of the cave. With the combined abilities of the 4 people, the Snow Lion let out pathetic howls. It finally retreated in defeat after suffering multiple strikes. Song Qingshan was elated. Chase it. It was one of the culprits. If we manage to capture it, we will definitely be commended. The other 3 nodded. Only Li Hao had a glimmer in his eyes, greedily staring at the 2 jade boxes in Su Yu's hands. Wait. The 2 treasures Su Yu found, should they be given over to use for safekeeping? It was only after hearing this that Song Qingshan and the others noticed the 2 aged jade boxes. A bolt of passion flared in their eyes. The treasures of the Abyss of Wutong. What precious items did they contain? The Abyss of Wutong was an ancient wasteland found by the Liaxian faction. There were several protected zones which were well preserved. There had been many precious treasures found in these zones. Most of the legacy-level technique in the faction's depository came from the Abyss of Wutong. It was rumored that the immortal-level technique of the faction also came from the Abyss of Wutong. It could be said that it was the foundation of the faction. The 10 elders of the faction took turns being in charge of the Abyss every 6 months. Ordinarily, Song Qingshan and the others did not even have the authority to touch the items from the Abyss of Wutong. Song Qingshan struggled for a moment but ultimately succumbed to his greed. Su Yu, according to the rules of the team, these treasures should be split among everyone. Pass them to me, the team leader, to deal with them accordingly. Hearing this, Su Yu was not surprised, lightly sighing. I should have known. I should have let you all die sealed in the ice before striking just now. Everyone turned red. This made them seem like people who repaid benevolence with hatred. Su Yu had saved all of their lives, but they had asked Su Yu to hand over the treasures he had found. Li Hao laughed. Since we are from the same faction, you reasonably had to save us, that was your duty. Do not take it as benevolence. Hearing this, 2 greedy 4th level peak holy kings looked at each other, surrounding Su Yu and coldly grunting. Hand over the treasures, hand them over to the team. Don't think about keeping them for yourselves. Su Yu's peaceful expression showed faint traces of disappointment. Saving you all is the natural thing to do. All right, take care of yourselves. Let's hope that there will still be people who will save you. Saying this, Su Yu lightly threw the jade boxes down on the floor. 2 remnants of techniques totaled only a few thousand words. Su Yu had long since memorized them. Whoosh! The pupils of the 4 dilated, they immediately snatched up the treasures. They had not realized the double meaning in Su Yu's words. Song Qingshan grabbed a box. Li Hao also snatched a box. They were visibly elated, opening them to see the contents. Suddenly, a horrifying aura descended, blanketing the surroundings. An icy voice filled with a deep hatred reverberated around everyone. You kill a member of the Empire of Darkness and stole my treasures, and you dare stay here. You're brave. The hearts of everyone skipped a beat, everyone turning rigid except for Song Qingshan. Twisting their heads to look, 3 people had appeared at the mouth of the canyon out of nowhere. There was a 4th level upper tier Holy King, a 4th level peak Holy King, and a 50 level lower tier Holy King. There was also the injured 5th level Holy King Snow Lion. The 5th level Holy King was only a teen. His expression was cold, his gaze icy. He was glaring at him. There were 2 5th level Holy Kings. Song Qingshan's throat swelled and a fear of death struck him like lightning. His team would only be annihilated facing such a roster. Li Hao's heart trembled. As crafty as he was, he sneakily set the box down, slowly retreating. He tried to explain. Your female partner was not killed by me. I have also not looked at what's inside the jade box. Song Qingshan realized what he was doing. He put down the box in a fluster, cautiously retreating, grunting. We have no intention of being your enemy, don't force our hand. The cold expression of the 5th level Holy King became furious when he scanned past the cold body of the slender lady. He laughed angrily. Force you? You are standing beside Yue's body, and have her treasures in your hands. Are you telling me she was not killed by you? Did the killer leave the treasures for you? It is you that is forcing our hand. The colors on the faces of the 4 were mixed as they tried desperately to defend themselves. In their hearts there was regret. These treasures were indeed left for them by Su Yu. Had they known this was going to happen, would they be so greedy for the treasures? They should have left this place earlier instead of running into such powerful foes. Kill them. Feed them to the Snow Lion. The 5th level Holy King stepped forward. The Snow Lion harnessed a horrifying blue chili energy, attacking with it. Split up and run. Every person that escapes is a survivor. The color on Song Qingshan's face changed. He was shouting loudly as he hastily escaped. The 4 of them suddenly thought about the words Su Yu said before he left. Take care of yourselves, let's hope that there will still be people who will save you. Now that they thought about it, Su Yu had already known that enemies were approaching. While they were frustrated that Su Yu had hidden this fact from them, they could not do anything about it. They all had unspeakable regret. If they had not returned their favors with malice, causing Su Yu to be deeply disappointed, would they still be like this? They had brought this upon themselves. Whoosh, whoosh. Filled with regret and fear, the 4 of them split up and ran. 2 hours later, 2 4th level peak Holy King disciples were fearfully kneeling on the ground. Song Qingshan and Li Hao had escaped with injuries. The 2 of them had been captured and subjected to their interrogation. They told them everything they knew. What? Yue was killed by a 3rd level lower tier Holy King disciple. The 4th level upper tier Holy King member of the Empire of Darkness wore a look of deep hatred. Li Xiaowei, please allow me to kill this vermin. The 4th level upper tier Holy King's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was kneeling as he made his request. The 5th level Holy King was Li Xiaowei, a captain of the Empire of Darkness, and their superior. Cheng Yu, go. Yue was engaged to you, you should personally get revenge. Li Xiaowei was confident, as he had also held high regards for Cheng Yu. It was him who brought Yue and Cheng Yu together. Cheng Yu thanked him in gratitude, leaving quickly. After he left, there was only the 4th level peak Holy King and Li Xiaowei left. Lord Xiaowei, that human is very strange. Will just sending Cheng Yu be safe? The 4th level peak Holy King was a little worried. Li Xiaowei shook his head. Don't worry. In terms of battle ability, Cheng Yu doesn't lose to you, Wang Li. He has the highest potential in our army camp, and his role is the hardest to replace. You need not worry about him. You should go search for the 4th level peak Holy King disciple that escaped. Yes. Wang Li bowed, but a strange look flashed past his eyes. Su Yu had been flying for an entire day. Once he was sure that the horrifying enemies had not pursued him, his worry completely eased. He found a secluded area in the ice mountains. Su Yu hid in a cave, taking the ice crystal marrow out. He had only felt such horrifying chilly energy from the icy pearl. Even though this was a little weaker, it was more or less the same. The ice crystal marrow was a liquid made by condensing chilly energy. It harbored a terrifying chilly energy. To a normal person, this item could take a life. But to Su Yu, it was nourishment. He swallowed the marrow, a powerful chilly energy circulating throughout his body. Crack. His body was rapidly frozen. Under the effects of the sigh of ice, he was absorbing the spirit energy around him at an accelerated rate, causing Su Yu's cultivation level to steadily increase. In the ice seal, as Su Yu was quietly cultivating, he involuntarily started to gain insight into the artifact control technique, as well as the nameless immortal level technique. Even though the latter manual only had 100 or so words, there was still some information worth learning. Just disregarding it would be a pity. 3 days later, Su Yu gradually awoke from the ice seal. His cultivation level had entered 3rd level upper tier Holy King. His amount of spirit energy was double that of those with the same cultivation level. Not mentioning 3rd level Holy Kings, he could compete using spirit energy with 4th level upper tier Holy Kings. But Su Yu had the most improvement in the artifact control technique. Even though he did not manage to learn the technique to the lower tier, he was not far off. Now that he looked at the divine ice ring again, Su Yu's eyes showed a hint of excitement. This divine ice ring is indeed a gift of the heavens. In the past I never fully used its true power, merely showing a sliver of what it can do. It's like a divine artifact in the hands of an outsider was merely normal steel. Closing his eyes, Su Yu waited silently for the release of the seal of ice. But just as his eyes were about to close, alarm bells rang in his head. When he opened his eyes again, a person had appeared 10 feet away from him. It was Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu was filled with hatred. He took advantage of the fact that Su Yu was still sealed in ice to deal a killing blow. Su Yu's expression changed, his heart surprised. How did Cheng Yu discover his exact location? But he did not have time to think. The killing palm was about to strike him while he was in the ice seal. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 144, Incredible Moonlit Demon Eyes. Crash. The ice shattered. A palm of horrifying spirit energy struck out in the direction of Su Yu's head. At the critical moment, Su Yu shot out a cold gaze. He silently flicked his right index finger. The divine ice ring on his finger emanated a strange cold glow. It was impossible to look at directly. Divine ice protection. A low grunt came from within the blinding icy glow just as Cheng Yu's palm struck. Crash. His palm cracked. Cheng Yu did not feel the happiness of killing his foe in one blow. Instead, he quickly retracted his palm like he had just struck lightning. Creak. As he was retracting his palm, a weak sheet of ice had already formed on his palm. Had he hesitated for a moment longer, he would have ended up completely frozen. When the icy glow dissipated, Cheng Yu was surprised by what he saw. There were many divine ice threads coming out from the divine ice ring on Su Yu's finger. They were woven together to form a rough helmet shape, protecting Su Yu's head. A faint palm-like impression had been formed on the helmet, but Su Yu was unharmed. It was this helmet made from divine ice threads that had saved Su Yu's life. A weapon with its own spirit. It's a divine artifact. Cheng Yu was thoroughly shocked. Divine artifacts were not rare. They could occasionally be found in ruins. But divine artifacts that were actually usable were rarely heard of. Without a suitable wielder, the divine artifacts were not of very much use. But the youth before his eyes could use a divine artifact. That was enough for Cheng Yu to be completely shocked. Even though he was shocked, he did not forget about the reason he was here. You killed my future wife. I shall have my revenge. Not only did Cheng Yu not barbarically charge forward, but he slowly retreated. Incredible moonlit demon eyes. His eyes were like the moon in the sky, creepily shining with a dull golden light. The power it harbored was like the raging waves, spreading in all directions. At that moment, Su Yu felt dizzy. He was shocked. An attack on the soul. Other than the prodigy of souls he had met in the Xuanhuan Prefecture Martial Arts Training Institute, this was the second person he had ever met with such abilities. Not good. Su Yu realized that the situation was dire. A bolt of soul power entered his brain, causing him to hallucinate. It was a hallucinatory style soul attack. In a battle between two strong people, the victor could be decided in seconds. Wouldn't slipping into an illusion now mean his death? Buzz, buzz. The long dormant nine-dragon cauldron lightly quivered. The golden soul power that was invading into his soul was easily expelled out of his body. Su Yu regained consciousness. An evil wave assaulted him as the horrifying palm was once again trucked towards Su Yu. Cheng Yu had seized the opportunity and struck while Su Yu was distracted. This was dangerous even for a 4th level peak Holy King, much less a 4th level upper tier Holy King. Without hesitation, Su Yu unleashed his heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Thunder and ice flames intertwined, harboring a destructive energy. It materialized in the form of a long spear, turning into a stalk of light as it pierced through the air. Ah, how could you regain consciousness? Cheng Yu's expression changed. But he could not think too much about it, having no choice but to collide with Su Yu's heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. Crash. It was like a million lightning bolts had descended, shaking the snowfield. An avalanche descended from every direction. Snow was flying everywhere. Among the rippling energy waves, Cheng Yu flew backward with blood in his mouth, completely shocked. Half-divine great holy decree. Even though he was fearful, Cheng Yu did not show signs of flustering, instead he grew fiercer. Yue was killed by this move. All right, I want you to die without a complete corpse. Die without a complete corpse. Su Yu thought back to the canyon, where they had spotted remains of corpses that had been chewed up. Could it be that the snow lion had followed him here? Leap. At this moment, a sharp roar reverberated in the sky. A thick demonic aura was blown toward them with the howling wind. Su Yu lifted his head to look, his expression changing slightly. It was an eagle of abilities rivaling a 4th level upper tier Holy King. He could actually control demonic and wild beasts. Su Yu finally understood how his location was so easily discovered. The birds in the sky were all controlled. Their effectiveness was even better than that of Su Yu's vision. No, it had the advantages of Su Yu's vision without all its limitations. Whoosh. The eagle descended from the sky, its sharp claws piercing through the clouds, striking towards Su Yu. The strike caused the winds and clouds to shift, dust and debris flying everywhere. Su Yu felt a pressure pushing his feet deeper into the snow. At the same time, Cheng Yu struck from behind. A person and a demonic beast, combining their attacks. Facing two 4th level upper tier Holy King at the same time, Su Yu was incredibly stressed. But his eyes remained collected, never once showing a ripple of emotion. Creak. Divine ice threads from the divine ice ring filled the air. A terrifying chilly energy flowed out from within the divine ice threads. Following the sound of the crack, multiple divine ice threads fused together, forming a long spear that was thrown suddenly towards the eagle in the sky. At the same time, Su Yu unleashed his purple star thunderbolt. Rumble. The divine ice threads kept the eagle busy, while Su Yu went into combat with Cheng Yu. He was actually fighting alone against two enemies. Thud, thud, thud. Cheng Yu retreated several steps, his face a mixture of shock and anger. His expression was sinister. Cursed that divine artifact. Attacked together. Cheng Yu let out a low grunt, a golden glow radiating from his eyes. At this moment, the demonic birds in the air all turned incredibly restless. Like the rain, multiple birds attacked. Cheng Yu took advantage of the confusion to strike. HMPH. But the divine ice threads once again transformed, separating and forming icicles, scattering in all directions from Su Yu. Su Yu looked like he was a porcupine. The birds that were charging down were all pierced by the icicles, unable to disrupt Su Yu. Cheng Yu was once again struck in his chest by Su Yu. Crash. Suffering two attacks, Cheng Yu once again spat out a mouthful of blood, retreating with a stagger. Pat. In a fluster, he dropped a technique manual. It was a sheepskin manual, words carved on the cover using soul power, incredible moonlit demon eyes. It was a top-level legacy-level technique, and it was an extremely rare soul-attacking technique. Not good. Cheng Yu's expression changed, rolling on the ground to retrieve his own technique. Su Yu's eyes blazed. Even the Lixian faction, as big as it was, did not have a deity-level soul attacking technique, much less a legacy level one. How could he miss this opportunity before him? Seeing Cheng Yu speedily try to retrieve the manual, Su Yu removed the film in his right eye as a red spirit eye showed itself to the world. Space manipulation. Just as Cheng Yu grabbed the technique, the power of space enveloped him. He realized was that he had been teleported a foot in front of Su Yu. Su Yu was wielding a long spear of ice and thunder flames and was charging toward him in an attempt to pierce his body. Ah! With a pathetic howl, Cheng Yu was pierced through his chest and his body was sent flying back by the impact. He once again spat out blood. At the same time, the sheepskin manual was forcefully taken from him in the confusion. Ah, you. Cheng Yu was immensely startled and furious. But a purple lotus flew toward him at that moment. Cheng Yu's expression was that of fear. He had already taken 3 of Su Yu's attacks. With the injuries he had sustained, he could no longer continue the battle. Retreat. With a low grunt, the eagle in the sky descended and grabbed Cheng Yu as it took the skies. Su Yu shot a cold glare. Wishing to escape. Icy divine wings. A cold glow appeared at his back. A pair of lifelike wings silently unfolded. Creak. Su Yu vanished from his original spot. When he reappeared, he was on the back of the demonic bird. Ah, how is that possible? How many secret techniques do you have? Cheng Yu was immensely shocked, his heart thumping wildly. An extraordinary spirit energy appeared. It was a mysterious divine artifact from an ancient kingdom. A fearful half-divine great holy decree. Stage 1 top class of the Purple Star Thunderbolt. The icy divine wings with shocking speed. Obtaining any of the following would make someone the king of their cultivation class. He would be victorious. Su Yu was able to use all of those techniques. An uncomfortable feeling welled up within Cheng Yu. This person was too scary. A strange scene unfolded in the air. A 3rd-level upper-tier Holy King was in pursuit of 2 4th-level upper-tier Holy Kings who were fleeing for their lives. Sometime into the pursuit, Cheng Yu's heart felt a little despair. A powerful aura suddenly descended from the sky. Whoosh! It was the 4th-level peak Holy King of the Empire of Darkness, Wang Li. He had received orders to chase after Li Hao, but upon hearing the large commotion he saw it fit to come check it out. Silver Guard Wang. Cheng Yu was elated. He speedily maneuvered the eagle toward him. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat, his pupils dilating. He had encountered a 4th-level peak Holy King. Quickly kill this person. He is able to use many secret techniques, and is in control of a powerful divine artifact. The worry in Cheng Yu's heart had dissipated, laughing as he looked back, like he was looking at a dead person. But at this moment, a ferocious gust of wind suddenly attacked him from the back. The horrifying spirit energy pierced through his chest at the moment he was least cautious. His entire chest, from the front to the back, had been completely pierced through. The bloody hole was a sight to behold. Cheng Yu staggered as he rolled, dropping from the sky, his eyes full of disbelief. Silver Guard Wang, his friend of many years, had launched a sneak attack on him. Silver Guard Wang, you. Cheng Yu was full of disbelief. Wang Li squinted as his eyes were a mixture of hatred and mockery. As his figure chased after him, he let out an evil laugh. There's finally a chance for me to get rid of you. You grew up together with me and we were in love. I should have been the vice captain. But you, a prodigy of souls with your talent and your usefulness, were much to the fancy of Li Xiaowei. You have taken everything that was supposed to be mine. I could bear with you taking away the position of vice captain, for I am weaker than you. But you even stole Yue from me to be your wife. Do you know how much I wanted to kill you? Wang Li grunted, his killing intent surfacing. He had waited for this day for too long. There would not be a better opportunity than this to kill Cheng Yu. They were away from Privy Eyes and he could blame it on the disciple of the Lixian faction. Cheng Yu came to his senses, angrily howling. You want to kill me? Fat chance. Retreat. Whoosh. The eagle let out a sharp shriek, gliding through the sky, escaping together with Cheng Yu. Wang Li let out a cold laugh. Do you think you can run? Creak. In the blink of an eye, Wang Li had caught up to the eagle. A black light materialized at the tip of his finger, pointing toward Cheng Yu and the eagle. Cheng Yu's expression changed. At this critical moment, he ordered the eagle to rotate its body, protecting him under it. Whoosh! A pathetic cry spread forth. The eagle had been pierced by the black light. Its body plunged downwards rapidly. Cheng Yu had been pieced together with the eagle. His head was nowhere to be seen. Wang Li had merely used a finger to kill 2 4th-level upper-tier Holy Kings. That was the power of a 4th-level peak Holy King. With a cold laugh, Wang Li saw a person and a demonic beast fall to the ground, turning into mincemeat. His lips formed a contorted smile, satisfied with his revenge. He then turned his gaze back. Boy, it's your turn. Even if we do not talk about taking revenge for Yue, you have seen what you should not have seen. You shall die too. There was no one behind him. Thinking about escaping, it would be a joke if you managed to escape the eyes of a guard of the Empire of Darkness. Wang Li surveyed the surroundings, a bolt of white light flickering around them. In his field of vision, the complicated ice glaciers were transparent. He could clearly see where Su Yu was. Found him. Wang Li let out a ferocious laugh, his gaze locked on a figure under a glacier. Whoosh! His figure flickered, harboring a cold smile. He tapped his foot on a rock, thinking to himself. Accept your fate obediently. The Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 145, Pursuit of Life and Death. Rumble. Debris flew everywhere. Su Yu's figure was exposed from under the rocks. Su Yu was a little startled. How had his opponent managed to look past the layer of rocks to find out where he was hiding? But he did not have time to contemplate. The black light flickered in Wang Li's hand. The terrifying technique that killed Cheng Yu surged toward him. The threat of death blanketed Su Yu, his expression changing. At the critical moment, he stuck his finger in his left eye and out the contact film to reveal a purple pupil, extravagantly bright. Seal of Time. A formless purple dragon coiled around Wang Li's body, causing his physical body to be wrapped in time. The killing blow had been stopped for a moment. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Su Yu activated Heavenly Punishment of Ice and Thunder, throwing the Spear of Thunder and Ice Flames. Su Yu did not wait for the results. He extended his icy divine wings and took to the skies. A monstrous rumble came from his back, the energy waves billowing outward. Destructive energy spread all throughout the surroundings. But Su Yu could feel his opponent was not dead. Little bastard. A furious roar came from within the billowing energy waves. All he could see from within the wild snow was Wang Li's clothes, which had been torn to shreds. His chest was laced with several cuts. A sliver of blood was dripping down from the side of his lip. Wang Li had regained control of his body and had blocked Su Yu in time. Even though he managed to survive, he still suffered some external wounds. Now, Wang Li was angry. Whoosh! Fast as light, Wang Li unleashed his angry pursuit. He was furious. Su Yu had killed Yue and had witnessed the death of Cheng Yu. Even if Su Yu had a million secret techniques, Wang Li would not let him escape. Su Yu's icy divine wings were at stage 1 upper tier, their speed was only slightly lower than Wang Li's. It would be a battle of stamina if he wanted to catch Su Yu. Half a month later, Wang Li sat anxious and furious, his heart full of hatred. In terms of stamina, Su Yu was not weaker than him. But Su Yu had extraordinary spirit energy, allowing him to escape Wang Li for half a month. What infuriated Wang Li even more was that Su Yu had taken a long route around the snowfield and returned to the borders of the Wolong snowfield. It was only about 30 miles away from where they had ambushed the disciples of the Lixian faction. Once Su Yu escaped the Wolong snowfield and brought reinforcements from the Lixian faction, the situation would get a whole lot worse. Wang Li was incredibly anxious and furious. Su Yu was also feeling increasingly tired. Wang Li had strange eyes. No matter how deep or secluded he hid, he would immediately be found. Su Yu could not wrap his head around this. He had little time to rest during the past 2 weeks. He had been pushing himself to full power and was immensely tired. Seeing how Wang Li was increasingly gaining on him, Su Yu used the same techniques again. Seal of Time, Heavenly Punishment of Ice and Thunder. With the combination of these two techniques, he could inflict minor injuries to Wang Li and buy himself some time. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu took to the skies. But Wang Li rapidly pursued. Su Yu was anxious. His spirit energy was almost depleted and his stamina was weakening. He would not be able to maintain the fast pace for long. At this rate, he was going to be caught. He flew past a wolf's den. Multiple snow wolves were sleeping in the cave. Hatching an idea, Su Yu slipped into deep thought. Clenching his teeth, Su Yu charged downward. I'll take a gamble. Let's see if I guessed correct. He let out some divine ice threads, waking up and restraining the snow wolves that were trying to escape. Su Yu dug into the wolf's den. Under the wolf's den was a 1,000-year-old glacier. He used all his might to shake the divine ice threads, digging out a pit of ice. Without a second thought, Su Yu jumped into the pit of ice, pulling the divine ice threads and the wolves in over his head. Looking from afar, there were only multiple wolves sleeping in their den. There was nothing strange going on. Not only were the limbs of the wolves restrained, but their mouths were also covered. Whoosh! At this moment, a cold laugh descended upon the den. You are finally tired out. Wang Li had accurately pinpointed where Su Yu was. But when he descended, his expression turned rigid. Those are snow wolves, not Su Yu. Crafty fellow. To think that you could escape the radius of my detection. Wang Li coldly surveyed the surroundings, anxiously flying to the horizon, searching everywhere. His eyes showed anxiety. Su Yu had personally witnessed him killing Cheng Yu. If he were to be captured by Li Xiaowei, then... Thump, thump. Wang Li was flustered. He clenched his teeth, dragging his tired body as he searched everywhere. After a moment, there was a slight movement deep in the wolf's den. Su Yu's head emerged, his face full of realization. He uses heat vision to see me. In the icy snowfield, the heat that humans emit is like a torch. So, no matter how well I hid, he is able to find me in a glance. Now that there are several snow wolves fogging up his heat vision, I can fool him. Thinking deeply, Su Yu did not leave. He stayed hidden in his ice pit. Wang Li wouldn't have gone very far. If Su Yu were to barge out now, it would be difficult for him to shake Wang Li, as his stamina and spirit energy were depleted. Letting out a deep breath, Su Yu activated the incredible moonlit demon eyes manual as he recuperated. It was a fraction of a legacy-level technique, only having one stage. Su Yu finished reading the technique, disappointed as he sighed. Soul-attacking techniques are extremely rare. To be able to obtain one stage of it was already extremely lucky. But, what in the world is the Empire of Darkness? Su Yu slipped into deep thought. The Sea Wolf's pirate chief was merely a second-level holy king, yet he had possessed legacy-level techniques. Cheng Yu was an extremely rare prodigy of souls. Wang Li was an expert in the art of tracking. He had been hot on Su Yu's heels for the past 2 weeks. Each of them had unbelievable abilities. At the same time, legacy-level techniques to them were not as precious. Even second-level lower-tier holy kings had the right to cultivate them. This would be unimaginable in the Liaxian faction. Only Inner Sanctum disciples had the right to cultivate legacy-level techniques, and they must have contributed to the faction, such as the deputy clan master of the External Affairs Division, Qin Gang. Usually, only 4th-level holy kings would have come into some contact with legacy-level techniques. But in the Empire of Darkness, even normal silver-robed guards could cultivate them. After thinking for a while, Su Yu lightly shook his head. This should be the worst of the elders in the faction. The Empire of Darkness had interfered with the territory of the Liaxian faction. Consolidating his thoughts, Su Yu flipped open the incredible moonlit demon eyes. This secret soul-attacking technique is split into lower class, upper class, and peak. At lower class, you can develop moonlit demon eyes, and can cause enemies to slip into hallucinations. With enough practice, one can control demonic beasts with weaker souls. At upper class, the effects of the hallucination get stronger, but you will not be able to affect anyone who's 3 cultivation levels higher than you. You will also be able to control demonic beasts up to 3 cultivation levels higher than you. At the peak, the effects of the hallucination will be at their highest. A word will be able to cause the person under its effects to commit suicide. You will be able to kill without moving. The difficulty of cultivating this technique depends on the strength of your soul. For a person without much potential, it will take 10 years to even learn the basics. For a stronger person, it will only take 2 years. It all depends on your fate. Su Yu had a weird look in his eyes. To think that this technique would allow the user to control demonic beasts. Calming down, Su Yu began simultaneously gaining insight into the incredible moonlit demon eyes, the artifact control technique, and the nameless immortal level technique. 10 days passed in a flash. The white snow piled up, falling gracefully. The icy world outside was silent, only the sound of snowflakes falling could be heard. Crash. But just then, a figure descended outside the wolf's den. It was Wang Li, who had been searching outside for the past 10 days. His face was pale as a sheet and his breathing was ragged. His spirit energy had been depleted and his face showed strong signs of fatigue. What was most unusual were the multiple claw marks on his body. It looked like he had been attacked by a demonic beast. In the past 10 days, Wang Li had searched the entire area within a 1,000-mile radius, even extending his search to the coniferous Song forest outside of the Wolong snowfield. He had been assaulted by a group of demonic beasts in the coniferous Song forest and had nearly perished. But, despite the fatigue, he could not find Su Yu. He had also passed by this wolf's den multiple times, always searching. Finally, he had found a detail that he had previously missed. Returning this time, he looked inside. The multiple snow wolves in the cave were all thin and hungry. But they were still sleeping. Boy, to think that you have been hiding here all this while. Wang Li's expression was sinister, harboring a deep frustration. Looks like you've already discovered the method I used to track my enemies. I was not meticulous enough to miss such a detail. In a harsh winter, snow wolves need to intake food. How can they spend 10 entire days in the cave without exiting? There's only one answer: they must be trapped and unable to go out and find food. Wang Li clenched his teeth, filled with self-blame. Had he discovered this detail earlier, he could have saved himself all the effort he had spent the last few days. Crack. The sound of ice breaking could be heard from within the cave. A purple-robed figure descended. Su Yu's eyes slowly opened, a faint golden glow filling them. His lips formed a slight smile. Who can you blame for your own stupidity? Green veins popped up on Wang Li's forehead. Boy, it's all over now. Is it? Say that when you catch me. After resting for 10 days, Su Yu had completely recovered. He extended his icy divine wings, gliding toward the horizon and heading toward the outside of the Wolong snowfield. Wang Li clenched his teeth, dragging his exhausted body in pursuit. Even though his stamina and spirit energy was running dry, he could still defeat Su Yu. One running and the other hot in pursuit. Another day passed. They had both flown out of the Wolong snowfield into the dense coniferous Song forest. Compared to the snowfield, the terrain of the forest was more complicated, with more wild beasts. It was hard for Wang Li to discover where Su Yu was. But Su Yu was not familiar with the place, while Wang Li had been searching there for the past few days. Wang Li was more familiar with the place, and so he was gradually catching up to Su Yu. Boy, there's no escape now. Further into the forest is where all the demonic beasts gather. You will either end up in the belly of a demonic beast, or die by my hands. Wang Li let out a string of cold laughs. Su Yu suddenly turned back, his lips forming a mocking smile. The energy here is not bad. This ends here. I will be the one to end it. Wang Li was not worried, he was instead elated. A faint black glow materialized on his fingertips. Su Yu's expression was calm, a cold light flashing through his eyes. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. With a low grunt, Su Yu circulated the spirit energy in his body, fighting with all his might. Rumble. Thunder roared, shaking the sky. Thud, thud, thud. Su Yu took a few steps back, but Wang Li was sent flying 10 feet back. A mouthful of blood spat out from his mouth. The victor had been decided with a single move. How can it be? In just 10 days, your spirit energy has increased another 30%. It is even higher than my spirit energy when I'm at full power. Wang Li's face turned rigid. He was immensely shocked. How was he to know that in the vast snowfield, when Su Yu was being chased to the point of desperation, the Sai of Ice had taken advantage of the cold and had broken through to stage 1 top class? At this point, his spirit energy was 3 times that of another person at the same cultivation level. It was slightly higher than a 4th level peak Holy King. Had Wang Li been at full power and were they only using spirit energy, Su Yu would have had to consider before engaging in a head-on collision. But, in 10 days, Wang Li had depleted most of his spirit energy. This, coupled with another full day of pursuit, meant Wang Li's spirit energy had been mostly depleted. Su Yu naturally had the upper hand in today's battle. A feeling of unease welled up within him. Wang Li had fallen into a trap. Fear gripped him. Clenching his teeth, Wang Li turned to retreat. He would pursue Su Yu again after he had recovered. But Su Yu's eyes were cold. You have chased me for a full 10 days. It is now my turn to pursue you. End of the chapter. The Divine Nine Dragon will be read in 5 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.